Hello, friends, and thank you for listening and or watching to a new episode of the podcast. And that's right, if you are just listening, there is video now, so you are able to watch this whole episode and the future episodes on YouTube. This episode is sponsored by me and my new shop that just opened up on my website. I have directing and film crew merch available from hoodies, beanies, mugs, and more. Available again on my website, or you can visit filmdirectingmerch.com or moviemakermerch.com, and it'll forward you directly to the store. Today's special guest is Jordan Brady. He is an ultra successful commercial director, having directed well over 1,000 commercials, and he offers a commercial directing masterclass as well as other courses that you could take on his website. To learn more about Jordan, please visit truegent.tv and follow him on Instagram. We have a really, really great conversation on this episode, and I'm really glad that he was able to come on. So please, he gives a special code somewhere in the episode, so you'll have to listen all the way through for that and find that little nugget in there for somewhere in there and sprinkled in throughout the episode. But yes, so really great episode, and I'm really happy that he was able to make it on. And so hopefully anybody listening and or watching to this episode gets some things out of it. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you, Jordan, for coming on the podcast. And
I love being here. Thanks for having me, Matt.
yeah, thank you. And so kind of like we were talking about before I started recording, I started following you maybe about 2 years ago in the pandemic. I started seeing your videos about your commercial directing shadow masterclass and all of that. And you offer quite a bit online, actually. Yeah. Your book and everything else. And I bought your book. And we'll get into
Commercial directing voodoo. Yeah. $10 for 20 years of experience. It's like film school in your back pocket. Commercial directing voodoo. Amazon, wherever you get your books.
Wherever you get your books. And I mean, it literally like, you say on the front, filmmaking spells and production potions. And it really is kind of like that, like little ingredients for success,
Thank you.
Yeah. And I mean, just little tidbits of, just starting right off the back. You can literally open the book and anything that you come up, you land on. You get a really creative drawing, which I
did
love.
it for the audio listener, for the listener of your show that's having an oral sensation. I illustrated the books, and people have said to me, who did the drawings in your book? A child? Because they're badass stick figures, not like badass, but badass. And they're terrible. But each picture does relate to the knowledge nugget on the page. You can read the book in a lunchtime.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, it is really just, pretty much a paragraph or,
what you open
page,
to?
But page 25. So this one, I have a few little bookmarks in here.
Oh, you're prepared.
I'm prepared. I am. The first one that I went to was always board less.
Meaning storyboard. The minimal amount of frames that you need to tell the story, and then keep bonus shots in your back pocket. But you don't want I deal in 30-second commercials, sometimes 15-second commercials. So you have to go in with a scalpel. And if you board every shot that you could think of to tell the story like it's a feature film, well, you're going to get everybody excited, but you're not going to be able to pull it off a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So that's where that comes from. Board less.
Mm-hmm. Well, even just what you mentioned now about story. So that was one thing that I really wanted to ask you about was, how is story in a commercial different from a film? Now, obviously you don't have, or do you? You have an inciting incident, climax, resolution, all of those specific story beats. Do you have them? Does a commercial have kind of specific story beats in a way?
I think
product
so.
intro or, okay.
Yeah, I think a good commercial should have a story that the ad agency hammered out most of it. And then the director brings, it's an overused word, but they bring the humanity. And so I like to give the actors a little bit of a backstory, and hopefully that comes through in the opening shot. Like if a mom is driving to pick her kids up in the school in the rain, maybe it's more interesting if she's 10 minutes late already and she's juggling a coffee, a Hot Pocket type sandwich and her keys. So I would pitch that. Like if it's mom's on her way to pick up her kid from school and she's going to have snacks ready. Well, I'm going to say, let's make it late, see if we can make it rain.
Okay.
Right. So
Interesting.
that
So there's obstacles.
it's
Or
obstacles. Yeah, exactly. It's obstacles.
Mhm.
And it's the story has a running start.
Okay.
And then you want a resolution at the end that the product made her life and the kid's life better.
Hmm.
And if I use that product, maybe my life will be better.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. I love the Pepto-Bismol commercials because it's always someone singing to a person who's has an upset stomach or the nausea. And
Sure.
do you know these commercials?
I mean, it's been a while since I've had cable. You know, I've had Roku and
Oh,
YouTube for
these
a
are
while.
on the web, man. These are
But yeah,
everywhere. TV.
yeah.
Matt, they go, somebody's like grumbling. There's one
Upset
on an
stomach, diarrhea.
airplane and the crew sings. There's one in a diner and the wait staff sings. And it's the sound, the song is the same. When you have uh nausea, heartburn, upset stomach,
Indigestion.
indigestion,
Diarrhea.
diarrhea. And I love how they sing it so straight. And the one like flight attendant close up goes, diarrhea.
Mm.
And I was talking to a young filmmaker about those commercials, and I had a scene, and the filmmaker said, well, would it be funny at the end if the person singing went, uh-oh, like grabbed their stomach or their ass, like they had to run off frame, like, and they grabbed the Pepto-Bismol,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
I said, oh, that would be funny, but it would break the gestalt of the whole campaign. They rarely do you see the person that has delivered the solution, the product, the answer, have the problem themselves now,
Hmm.
at least not at the end of the commercial.
Sure. We'll look at
Right.
any
So,
comments.
yeah, you wouldn't have a spokesperson have diarrhea.
Sure.
Can we say diarrhea on the podcast?
I mean, there's other terms that we can not
Okay.
use, but yeah, diarrhea is great.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be the excerpt. Yeah, diarrhea is great.
Yeah, it is.
That'll be the clip
Well,
you
not all
put
the
on
time.
Instagram.
Right. I mean, so that reminds me too of just popular, the reason that is such a memorable tune is because it's probably a song, right? And just like, every kiss begins with K, there's a specific
Yeah.
tone, specific rhythm that's just memorable.
My
Um,
favorites, the classic, they don't use it anymore, but it was by Menon. It was just 2 words, 3 syllables for
oh
Speed
wow.
Stick deodorant. Then we go
Oh,
Speed Stick, and then we go by Menon. Like so simple but so catchy. And the new one I love, not Living Spaces. I
oh,
love
that's good.
Living Spaces because it's just the name of the company, but it's a Safe Light Repair, Safe
Safe
Light
word.
Replace.
I got to
Safe-
duet you on that one when I hear it.
You like that one?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. They're culturally, just like you can recall, hearing commercials when you were younger, and there's, just a, kind of a, just a vintage kind of, memory to it, of old my, like recollecting, better time, or not better time, but good times, maybe,
Yeah.
like they connect you to that time.
Do you have a
It's
favorite?
funny, well, I mean, this every kiss begins with K is pretty cool.
It's a good, yeah, that is
But
a good one.
it's funny though. There's one that's been in my head for a while now, and I'm sure, like, as a filmmaker, you get pitched like, "Oh, I have a short film idea, for you," or "I have a film
All
idea
the
for you."
time.
I'm sure you get, "I have a commercial idea for you," But there has been like a jingle in my head constantly ever since like Christmas, obviously, and it's for Swiss Miss hot chocolate.
Oh,
And I'm just, yeah, for just hot chocolate, just Swiss Miss hot chocolate. And this jingle is, "It's not Christmas without Swiss Miss." And I just hear that over and over in my head. And I'm like, I got to get that out there. I got to tell them about that to hopefully, do something. Cause that's like every year you could use that, you can,
yeah, it's
associate it.
perennial.
Yeah, grow sales or whatever for that year. But, yeah, so, back to, I guess, yeah, the list that I made, for you. You started off in comedy, right?
Yes. Yes, this is true. I was a stand-up comedian back. I'm probably your parents' age, right? So in the 80s, I was a nightclub comedian. And then back then, as cable started to come about, they would have these stand-up comedy shows, like just different comedians in a club with a brick wall and a microphone. And I did that for dozens of years, and then got on television and really fell in love with the behind the scenes of TV and how it was made.
Oh, cool. So that's how you kind of found or discovered, I guess, that side of production.
I came into commercials really through promos, like
Mm,
for NBC and Comedy Central, MTV. They would have these wild promos that were, more experimental films and comedy. And so I learned production as I was also on air, and I just fell in love with how the sausage is made
mm,
and love helping other people shine,
sure,
working with talent in front of the camera. That I wasn't the best actor. I did some sitcom acting and stuff, but I was not good.
sure. You're
No, I'm serious.
self-awareness,
I mean,
right?
I was okay. I got work, but it was
Yeah,
yeah, I wasn't gonna become the next uh
sure.
guy from Friends or whatever.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, so what were the things that you learned kind of in comedy that you could apply to, what you were applying to
Timing.
production? Sure, timing. Okay.
Timing's the key. Whenever
Yeah,
someone asks you that, you always have to interrupt them with the word timing. So timing, and knowing how to use as few words as possible to tell a story, because
mm,
you want to trim the fat with your joke, right? If you're
sure.
on stage, you don't want a joke to go diddly 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 boom. You have too
Mhm,
much diddly before the boom. You want to go diddly diddly boom, right?
mm, mhm,
So as a 30-second or 15-second storyteller,
mhm.
there's no time for diddly. It's got to
Sure.
go diddly boom
Yeah,
for a 6-second commercial. So that's really what I took away from stand up, is the more you trim the fat. Unlike this answer to your question, you want to be succinct.
sure. Well, I mean, I'm happy for all the fat. um, but where did the visual narrative kind of comedy come into play? Was it then with, the promos kind of you see what's funny? So
Wow.
I mean, the juxtaposition, right, of and the image to one image to
Yeah.
and I mean, your reels alone on Instagram are hilarious in that. You'll cut
Oh,
to
wow. Thank you.
yeah, I mean, you'll cut to a reaction of yourself giving yourself, reaction. I mean, it's hilarious.
Oh,
Um,
you're so flattering. Well, the reaction shot, and I teach that in the like my online commercial directing master class, and I stress it at boot camp. I think it's in the Voodoo book, like always get a reaction shot,
mhm,
because from a pragmatic standpoint, you can take 3 and take 4 and marry them together by cutting to grandma on a rocking chair looking at you. So
mhm,
you could have the beginning of one sentence and finish it with another take if you have a cutaway. That's just like some super glue, like a band-aid. But
mhm,
more importantly, uh, having a reaction shot to show someone listening to this absurd conversation is usually funny.
mhm,
So, like on my Instagram, I think I cracked the code, and I didn't invent this. People have been doing it for a long time. But on TikTok and Instagram, when people talk to themselves,
mhm,
I figured, okay, I can do that with the semi-professional gear in my office, and I can do it by myself. I don't need anyone to help me, and I can edit it. I can do a clip interviewing myself in like 30 minutes, soup to nuts.
yeah,
So getting a cutaway of myself listening to the other me has been very helpful in bridging the takes. And I always think it's funny if I just cut to a person, which happens to me on Instagram, just kind of listening and blinking or nodding,
sure.
you know.
Yeah.
But how did I learn that? I think it took me longer than most filmmakers.
I think, yeah. And I think what just came to me while listening to your answer was I think you had somewhat of an advantage by studying live an audience's reaction to your comedy or to your sense of comedy, I suppose.
I
You know,
think
I
so.
guess.
I think it's a good observation. I
Mm,
also am pretty tough critic, like on set. If people laugh because an actress did something different on take 6 and they go, "Oh, that was so funny," I'm the first to point out it was funny, but it won't be funny in 3 days in the edit room.
mm,
What do you mean? Well, it was funny because it was new and it was fresh and it surprised us, but it doesn't make sense, right? Like sometimes just doing something, that's why people love outtakes or
mm.
flubs, when the blooper reel at the end of a movie, because it's different and it's surprising.
Yeah.
But I'm the first to say that was funny. It won't be funny later.
Hmm. I'm sure you know that just from experience of, trusting or believing in the moment you had it. And, in the editing room, you're like, well, shoot, I should have.
Matt, Matt, my views of comedy are very narrow but correct.
Love it. And I believe it too. Your timing of just, that joke of, on your recent podcast of, Little Saint Media of, your friend.
Oh,
I forget
John
his name.
Grammatico was on the
Yeah.
podcast. His
Yeah.
company is called Little Saint Media. And I was asking him what the website was, and he said Little Saint Media. And then he said, it's not Little Stain Media.
Which was a typo, on one of his favorite typos that somebody made. And you immediately made the joke, that's most of my sweaters.
Well, sadly, that's humor coming from truth.
Yes. Well, I mean, and I laughed so hard because I could relate to it myself. And I think that's, one thing that I can tell in your commercials that they're kind of universally relatable, like, that yeah, anybody can relate to the specific story that's being told in there.
Oh, thank you. You know, I'm from a small town in the Midwest, so I I try to think what would make my cousins laugh.
Mm.
You know, what would make someone that worked all day, fixing the electrical system, and I don't want to overcomplicate things. I want to streamline the joke, and the reaction is often a part of that. Sometimes the formula is someone says something and it's kind of absurd, and the other person just has to look with their eyes, and we, the viewer, connect with the person giving the eye roll. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I did some commercials that were airing this year for Waterpick.
Yeah.
Waterpick is a dental hygiene device. You stick it in your mouth, it sprays water. It's wonderful. I've been a fan of the Waterpick, a user, I don't know, since before you were born. And I got to do the commercials, and it was people shouting, both literally and figuratively, how they loved the Waterpick. Like it gets the gook out and it gives you a pulsating feeling like massaging your gums. So these people were evangelists, and the words they were saying were funny, but it was the way they said it that we cast. I wanted to cast funny people that were a little over the top. They were exuberant in their love for the Waterpick. But that alone could be annoying.
Mm.
So I made sure to cast a buddy, a friend with each person that was just kind of like, okay, man, cool, got it, cleans your teeth, all right.
Mm.
And to me, even without cutting to a reaction, it's funny to have those people next to them in the same shot.
Yeah. Now, did the agency, or I suppose that's the agency that you pitched this whole idea to, and did they, put up any flack against that, or
Well,
were
the
they all for it?
agency loved it, and the
Okay.
agency wrote the script and the words that the people were saying. I think
Gotcha.
I truncated one because I always, the listener right now is a filmmaker. When you time your script or the script supervisor puts a stopwatch to each scene, you're golden. Dealing with 30 seconds, and I knew we had to do 10-second versions and 15-second versions. You really want to have the words down to the syllable. It's that tight, right? So I put a stopwatch to every script. With the Waterpick, it was a little long, and the agency was super cool with some suggestions. And they had envisioned different people in the scenes for most of the characters to have a a person, kind of the straight person, as it were, not in the sexual orientation sense that they would be. They could be gay, they could be bisexual,
Sure.
they could be anything, right?
A bisexual, yes.
They could be a bisexual, they could be
bisexual.
a hetero,
Yes.
but a scene partner. And I stressed that the contrast between the reactor and the enthusiast would be something we'd want to pay attention to. I think that was I don't think they were thinking about it as like I was hyper focused on that. That the laughs, I don't want to speak because they're a very smart agency and I work with them all the time. They're called 31,000 Feet in Texas.
Oh.
I think they thought that we would cast funny people, which we did, and those people alone would be funny. But to ground it in reality, to bring the humanity, to have my cousins laugh back in Ohio, I wanted the guy grilling the hamburgers to go, got it. Okay. Like, you're over the top, buddy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like even the daughter in your, I think it was the credit union commercial. You're right. The dad wearing a, shirt that was from his high school years, and the daughter's like, okay, dad, anything, just that audience relatability to that character, then, it enhances everyone in a way. It's both
Listeners,
positives.
Matt is talking about USAA insurance, and the dad is wearing his 90s clothes, and the daughter is a Gen Z daughter. And yeah, she kind of gave him a loving, like, okay, dad, what, okay.
Yeah.
And the trick there was that agency, Publicis, they wrote a great script. And I think what I brought to it is that I'm a dad of twin Gen Z daughters. And so I knew that they wouldn't be embarrassed to go out with me. I could wear gold lame tight shorts, cowboy hat, and a tube top, and my daughters would go out with me. They would just maybe keep their distance and they wouldn't roll their eyes. They would just be like, whatever, dad.
Yeah.
So I wanted the girl to play it like my daughters would play it. It's like, they love me no matter what. And I think the younger generation appreciates that versus an older style of comedy might be for the girl to be like, stay away, dad. I don't know you. I'm not with him. And sort of sell dad down the river.
So have you seen an evolution of comedy in a way?
I've seen, back when I started, the old school people from my era, they
Angie
would
Dice Clay, right?
yeah, well, that's the term the last, I don't know, dozen years, punching down, like making fun of people that are a bit they're suffering a bit. That's not cool anymore, which I think is fabulous. And comedy has become inclusive, and overall I think comedy has become more personal. We've seen more storytelling. There's some comedy that, like, the special everyone points to, Hasby, Nanette was the special. It's kind of like a TED Talk, and it was deep and emotional and heart-wrenching, because she talked about the abuse as a gay woman, as a masculine looking woman. I think she got raped, which is a real comedy killer on a podcast to even talk about. But to me, that was like, okay, comedy has evolved into more than just set up, punchline, joke. It's not what I like, but I appreciate that that's out there. This guy, Moses, somebody, young white guy, he did a special about being from white trash roots, and the stage was littered with props that had all been painted white. And he talked about being white trash, and he talked about his struggles. And, I would have trimmed the fat. I'm like, man, I don't need it to be therapy for you, but it was a great special. And I'm glad that people dig it. Bo Burnham came along, I don't know, 10 years ago now, maybe more. He's genius.
Yeah.
And even that special during the pandemic, which he directed, wrote, performed by himself, that's like a time capsule for the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a laugh a minute, but it's comedic genius. And
Mm-hmm.
I love that comedy allows for all of it to exist.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yeah.
that's a good
Comedy. It is. Clip. Clip that
clip.
alone.
Play the clip.
And I do love that kind of, yeah, comedy is obviously universal. It goes across languages, it goes across cultures, um yeah, that's the power of comedy in a way. So I would love to know whatever you're comfortable with sharing, any kind of mistakes that you've made along the way, any kind of like hard lessons learned, on set, or even, I think in your book, even you mentioned sometimes of, um I think you mentioned about like letting the crew do their jobs, not overstep, or because I think any director, they want to help and they want to do things, and you're like, no, like people, you're getting in the way when you do that. And so there kind of, any lessons.
Yeah, specifically, you're referring to a thing in the book that says don't pick up the sandbags.
Mm.
Unless you're on a boat and the boat is going to sink if you don't get the equipment off, let the crew do the work. Like I remember trying to help pack up some C stands, and I was so clumsy and bad that I was almost going to knock my own noggin off. And someone had to stop and show me how to do it. I was actually slowing down the wrap.
Mm.
Um, Really, the director at the end of a commercial should be saying thank you to the crew and the agency, the actors, the client, and let the crew do their job. Let them get some overtime if it takes a while, if you went long. But it really means don't tell them where to put the light, tell them the vibe that you want, and let the DP figure out the lensing, and then you approve it, and then you collaborate, and you let the gaffer, let her do her thing with lights and give you the mood you want, as opposed to saying, put a 5K over there in the corner and put 2 scrims on it and a binky on the tweenie. And I don't know all the terms, but letting the crew do their job. But I'd say the lesson I learned is that I'm still struggling with. By the way, these are great questions, Matt. You're
Oh,
really
thank you. I
prepared too. Yeah,
appreciate it.
man.
Oh, I appreciate
Um, I'm always trying to balance my healthy ego
it. Mm.
with sincere humility, meaning there's new shit coming along all the time. There's new ways to do stuff. You can learn. Other people have great ideas. And then at the same time, you got to stick to your guns and be the leader. And that takes a healthy ego.
Oh yeah.
It takes a healthy ego to stand on a stage in front of people with a microphone and go, out of the 200 of us, we're all going to listen to me.
Even like a healthy level of narcissism to even think that you're even,
there's a lot of narcissism.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if you deal with imposter syndrome though. That is one thing that I'm kind of trying to deal with
All
or
the
work through.
time, brother. Will this be when they call rap and everybody's high five and I'm like, is this the last time I'll ever be on set?
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is, I don't know where it comes from scientifically, but it must be in our DNA as humans to use fear to motivate us, just like running from the saber-toothed tiger. We're going to run a little faster to survive. Maybe imposter syndrome is a way to check the narcissism, to bring the ego down to earth and go, hey, mofo, get your shit together. You got to go out and get another job. You can't rest on your laurels.
Very true. Yeah, I think that keeps the fire lit and that drive going for sure. And I mean, the ego, that is a topic that's a whole episode that I actually had planned out months ago or years ago, and I really wanted to do. Yeah, I want to do ego and the director. I mean,
What's the thesis of that episode?
It would be diving into the ego and really just.
No, but I mean, you have a take on it. Do you have a theory?
One thing would be, yes, is learning again how to balance it, right? So you have the ego as a director of, you got to lead everyone to, a singular vision, but at the same time, you need to collaborate for that vision. So at this, you're not, this is my vision, we're going at it all the way. You have to, one, know how to communicate that and then be open to, better ideas that other people are going to bring forward too.
Right. And leadership and collaboration are not mutually exclusive. A good leader should foster collaboration. That might be the hardest trick that it took a long time to learn.
Really,
as a leader, to create a collaborative environment, but yet know when to pull the reins back and go, okay, we're done collaborating. I got the wheel.
Yeah, that was a question I was going to ask you, was when did you, again, intuition is another topic that I love talking about. When did you absolutely trust yourself in a decision enough to tell everybody no? And then they found out, that you were correct.
June 7th, 2013. I'll never forget that day. I mean, you asked, man. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, that's
June
amazing.
7th, 2013. It was raining in the morning. The agency producer wondered why we weren't shooting, and I said, "Hey, it's going to clear up, and then everything will edit together better." And we waited for 45 minutes, and the sun came out. And the end of the story is that sales of that macaroni skyrocketed.
Thank God.
I don't know. I just made that up.
Okay. I'm like, blue skies.
Yeah.
I wonder.
But I have had that. That's a real thing. I was on a Jeep commercial, and the agency producer and my line producer were in cahoots going, we got to start shooting. And I said, just trust me. It's going to look like shit. And there'll always be someone to go, you can't even tell it's raining. Yeah, not on the 14-inch monitor, but on the new OLED, you'll see the rain.
No, sure.
It's barely drizzling.
Yeah,
and that's got to edit when the sun comes out in the afternoon.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that you trusted your intuition. Did you listen to the weather app? Did it show you too?
Yeah, always. Everyone's checking the weather app. Intuition, I've followed since I was like, I remember at 10, around 9, 10 years old, I wanted to believe in ESP, and Houdini had a magic word. The magician, Harry Houdini, had a magic word that he was going to say to his wife after he died. He said, everyone's going to want to do a seance, and they're going to trick you that they've conjured me up from the dead. Here's the word that I'm going to say. And she did seance after seance, and it never worked.
Oh, wow.
It'd be a better story if he came out and said,
came back,
onion rings, and everybody's like, that was the word? That's crazy.
Sales, just
falafel. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen. But I've always been, I try to live intuitively and to capitalize on moments where you get that little tingly feeling. And you go, you know what? And that happens on set for directors. I bet you've had that where you go, you know what? I'm calling the audible, and we're going to put the camera on the ground and have her run over and pick up the grapefruit. And then you lift up that camera, like, forget the dolly, let's just do this gorilla right now. I think have you had those kind of moments?
Oh yeah. One of the last shot in one of my short films, Homegrown, beautiful sunset, perfect time where it looked like fire in the sky. We were just like, grab the camera, shoot it handheld. I don't care. And I mean, perfect.
It made one of the best.
Yeah. And it made the ending. Yeah, for sure.
By the way, heartbreaking, says one reviewer. Powerful message. An important story about the losses one can experience in life.
Oh man.
Homegrown, 5 stars.
And then that one is a story based on my dad, actually, me and my dad's relationship. So in film school, thankfully having the resources to make short films, I kind of just channeled that into, life experiences that I've been, going through and really channeling it in. And so Homegrown was my father's, kind of me and my father's relationship, right? And so when he was in his early 40s, and he's still around now, he's still, thankfully, in his early 40s, he had to have a quadruple bypass. He had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And everything. Yeah. And
I hope
so
you had a coupon. That's expensive.
Right? Shoot, good insurance, thankfully. And so so that story is kind of related to kind of us, right? And then I had another one called Without Regret, and that one's kind of like a 3-generational story of like a grandma, the mom, and then the daughter, kind of how generations impact one another.
What's that one called?
Um, Without Regret. And that one I
A
came up with.
beautiful, heartwarming story.
Uh-oh.
5 stars. I got that poster up too.
Oh, thank you.
You got
Yeah.
2 heartwarming stories. You're a good filmmaker.
3, 4, maybe. So my very first short film ever. I don't know why this turned into an interview about me. I'm sorry,
because it's
but
interesting.
I do love. Yeah, I never talked about this online on it actually.
Tell me.
Sure, thank you. So very first Okay, so if we want to go way back, let's go to the beginning. Why not?
Go to Portugal. Your dad's 2.5.
So
He goes, I must leave.
So I was very tiny then. So we'll start when I was about 3 or so. My stepbrother then at the time, he was in high school, and I was again around 3 to 5 years old or so. And he was really into home movies at the time. So I was, his little actor, on a skateboard, him pushing me, and I was like, little tricks, disappearing through doors and everything, and then dancing to Britney Spears and the end credits and stuff. I mean, like a lot of fun. Kind of forgot about all that until I was in my early teens, around 12 to 13, 14. I started writing scripts or just stories.
Yeah.
The first one was just a story, and then I researched what the format of a script, and literally in Microsoft Word by hand, I just formatted a whole script, dialogue, character in the middle, dialogue, this was action.
Tap, character.
Craziness. And so that took me obviously a long time, but my very first script that I ever wrote was a feature length, like script called Envision, and it was a combination of Final Destination was really popular at the time.
Final Destination, the video game?
No, the movie series, Final Destination.
The movie series. I'm thinking of like Final Fantasy.
Oh yes, yeah, Final Destination, like death coming after people,
Yeah.
And it was a combination of that with, I think, like Deep Impact, like kind of like an apocalyptic event with someone being able to premonition it and all that,
Not
so
very
that was cool. And then I was a freshman in high school, so like maybe like, gosh, I don't know what that age is, right? Maybe like 15, and I got held back in 3rd grade, FYI. Anyway, right at the year that Bush, can you imagine? I got held back, and then that same year Bush passed the No Child Left Behind, and I was like, I just got left.
You got left behind, brother.
I got left behind. I was one of the ones. But anyway, just being vulnerable here on the podcast. Why not? With my listeners and viewers here.
Vulnerability,
I love it. Yeah,
is in the lane next to humility.
Yeah,
I think vulnerability is the on ramp to the humility highway. So keep going, brother. So you're making these movies with your stepbrother. Then you get to age like freshman in high school, 15, and you write this script.
That was one. That was my first script, Envision.
And when you were in high school, you wrote it.
Well, yeah, middle school. I still have the first printed out copy with one of my printed out in 2008. And I keep everything. I keep all my first drafts. So that one was Envision, and then Avatar came out, and I was like obviously blown away, like everybody was. And that led me to writing like a 256-page long script called Dream. That was just like a kid's imagination just spewed onto the page, but literally like written as a script, because I got final draft at that point.
Yeah, someone clued you in like, hey, Matt, you don't have to do that, brother.
Yeah. And so obviously I just
final draft was like what AI is now.
It was a miracle,
then, right? Like
it was a miracle. I was able to, again, like, not really knowing story or anything like that. I just, spewed out an imaginative, scenario. I guess
that's very intuitive.
70 pages. Yeah. Thank you.
You did. You told a story on paper, what you thought. Well, it certainly resonated with you, and you were probably unfettered in not caring about what an audience thought.
Well,
you were just writing
that, and I had no idea of limitations about budget. And that's one thing that I'm like really impacted by after going to school and realizing, just growing up and realizing all this stuff costs money. Now I can't help but think about budget when I'm writing. And I mean, that sucks, as someone who's, needs to produce their own film, but
a little piece of me just died.
Oh,
yeah. Matt, I want you to get rid of that. Get back to that childhood freedom.
I know.
And draft 3, start thinking about the budget.
Yeah.
right? Just
Not
like
very true.
first draft, divorce yourself from film school constraints and common sense, budgetary woes,
Mhm.
write, write like the wind. I don't think
Yeah.
that's what they say, but write and let it spew out on the page and then get it down to the story you want to tell
Yeah.
and then attack.
Mhm.
I mean, I love getting a commercial script where the script, I did one last year where the writer and the art director from the agency said, we wrote this thinking we had $1 million budget
Mhm.
and there's no, we know we can't afford the train. And I said, well, let's keep the train as a metaphor. And we used a train set, a little train set on a piece of plywood. And it was a metaphor to the point where the other actor, I had him ad lib, that's a metaphor.
Mhm.
And but had they written it with the constraints that later became reality, I don't know
Mhm.
if they would have come up with that, or I would like, I just go, brother.
Yeah. Well, I think you even said it. There's only solutions in filmmaking, right?
There's only
Or some.
solutions in
Yeah, yeah,
filmmaking.
yeah, yeah. Which I do love that. I love, getting a challenge and kind of facing it, and how can we get around it? How can we creatively, tell the same or say the same thing pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. That's
So
awesome.
you're in high school. Well, you write this opus. How do you then start making short films? Is that you went to film school?
So my very first short film documentary, I was like maybe a sophomore in high school. Now this is when I started getting into video, right? Because it was all
Mhm.
written before. Um, Me and my family, well, my mom first at least, was really close to a homeless man named Chris out there. We would go out to him, take him blankets. She would put him up in a hotel. Like we've always been really close and giving back to, um, homeless and all that. Because my mom, not to put her business out there, but we went. We funny little story about that. She went through drug, situations growing up. Same as my dad. They were both, into drugs and stuff, and not just weed fine, obviously. I mean,
Right, right.
harder stuff. And so thankfully both of them changed their lives, and for the better. um but yeah, so she raised us, to always give back. And Thanksgiving we'd go volunteer for feed the homeless and all that. And so I kind of had the great idea of I wanted to live homeless for a week
Oh,
with Chris
wow.
out there and document that experience. And my mom said, hell no.
Of course, like a good parent.
Like a good
What
mom.
parent would go, that's a good, how old were you then?
Oh man, maybe like 16, 17. Yeah, about 17. I was a little
Yeah.
older, yeah, but so she was still like obviously no. And so I was like, okay, only solutions in filmmaking, right?
It's a
How can
good
I
idea,
go
by the
around
way.
it? Thank you. Well, not really for, minor, but yeah. But so I just started documenting his story. And while I'm documenting his story, the city is moving him from location to location. Like, you can't be here, so he's moving way out here, and all of this, just situations for him going on. So I just documented it for him, or just really documented it. And it's called Homeless in Hanford. I actually just it's the I think 11th year anniversary yesterday. I just shared it on my Instagram, that the Hanford
Homeless
Sentinel.
in Hanford?
Homeless in Hanford. Yeah. You can look up the Hanford
Heartwarming
Sentinel.
documentary about Chris, a homeless man.
Yes. And there's, even story about that too. After it was released, he had a few warrants out for his arrest, and he got picked up and, sent to jail. But the bright side of that was, he had colon cancer. And, um,
That's the bright side?
well, no, I was
I
getting to the
know.
bright side.
The bright side is
Bright
he
side
had
is he had
colon
colon cancer.
cancer.
He got the medical treatment that he
Oh,
needed for
good.
all of that. Yeah. And so,
Through the film, through someone seeing the film?
through someone seeing the film, they knew his location, picked him up to go to jail, and then he started receiving medical treatment for
That's a
that whole
great
situation.
story. You
I
played
get,
a healing role in that guy's life.
oh my gosh, you don't even. I've probably like. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything because I forget about it, but
This is the podcast to do it.
I haven't. I've probably accidentally saved a lot of lives. Like even just a few months ago, my very first time of getting back to work after being off for so long due to health reasons, I reached out to, I don't know if you're familiar, there's a little like film community in Fresno, kind of the whole Central Valley kind of has its own, they call it Valleywood. Shout out
Valleywood. Shout out Valleywood.
Yeah.
The
And so,
Fresno filmmaking fam.
woo. And so they are,
Valleywood. Da, 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 Valleywood.
right. They're going to love that. I'll clip that out for them. But they have, I reached out to a filmmaker out there and asked him, if you need any help, I just offered, help. And I don't care if I'm driving 2.5, 3 hours, to go out there and help. I just need to get out there again, and do something. And so, this opportunity turned into not just doing BTS only, but to then becoming actually one of the main characters in the movie. And so that happened, and it was a priest. That was a priest character. So yeah, this is where it's going. So
you
my character
played
was
the
a priest. I had a wig on. It was an alcoholic priest. Let me just clarify.
It's a little bit redundant.
Right. And that first day after filming, me and one of the actors are driving back to the hotel, and I see this guy going around a roundabout and literally jump the curb and start driving on the wrong side of the road. And we were like, oh my God, the guy next to me is immediately like a drunk driver, right? And so unfortunately, we know first instinct is this guy's drunk. It wasn't, anything other than that. And so this guy's flooring it down the wrong side of the road, and I'm chasing after him in my, right now I currently have a 2002 Camry. But it caught up to him. It's a little, little good thing, a little good car. And so I caught up to him, and I don't know why I did, because it could have been so dangerous. He literally could have ran my car, but I used my car to get in front of his, stopped. He pulled over. I ran out of my car, went over to the driver's side, opened his door, turned the car off, put the car in park. Meanwhile, I think this guy's drunk. I'm cussing him out and everything, poor thing, right? And, the other guy's on the phone with the police. We get the police there. The guy was having a stroke.
Oh my goodness. You
And
saved his life.
And I mean, we just.
And what took over? You didn't have time to make a conscious decision to get in front of him. Thank God you'd watched the show Cops for many years in your formative years, because you knew how to slow him down by getting in front.
Oh, I did the pit. I would have done anything. Yeah.
But what was it just an instinct of like, I've got to stop this guy?
I wasn't even thinking about it. I just had to stop him before hurting himself, hurting somebody else. It was just insane.
Matt,
the other guy.
And wait, let me ask you this. Are you mid filming when this happened? Like, are you wearing the wig and the priest outfit? Say yes for the story. Say yes for the podcast.
I think I was in the priest
outfit.
Say
you were like a padre with the big robe. And
I didn't have
the bowl cut wig.
I didn't have the wig on. Thankfully, that went down to
visual.
Here. But I had the collar on. This guy could have been tripping. He was like, "Oh my God, am I dead?"
And is he? Did he make it?
I tried to keep in contact. I don't know, unfortunately. Right. But what you were saying about just acting on instinct. I had no formal training or anything. The guy that I was with was in the military. He was literally steady. Like the car door was open. He was standing back, just imagining this guy, was a gangster or somebody, because, and started shooting or anything. He was, ready for that kind of scenario. And I mean, I just didn't even, I had no regard for my own health in that moment. I just, was just like, I guess I got to do something. So
I think you're blessed.
Oh,
you have a guardian angel looking out for you.
Well, I was going to tell you,
done good things for other people. You were what?
I was going to tell you 33, because you mentioned about my phone number being Fresno area code.
Yeah,
I was going to send an email about that, and I was like, I don't know, that's just too much. I overthink. But I was going to tell you, I kept that number because of 33. 33 is like a really lucky number for me.
Oh, I didn't know
kind
that.
of
For you, not in
not in general. Well, maybe for a lot of people too, but just, I don't know, numerology, it means something. But it's such a trip. It's been like somewhat like a guide for me in a way, and even like something leading back to intuition. Like it's really like a synchronicity, like a kind of like a sign that you're on the right path, and like everything's kind of going smoothly.
The millennials and the Gen Zs, which you're a part of, right?
I am a millennial. Yeah,
you're a millennial. You're a little older. Okay, the term comes up, flow. You're in flow. You reach the flow state. You've heard that, right?
Yeah.
And the flow, when you're in flow state, I mean, I'm thinking about Kobe, the late Kobe Bryant, was just loved by everyone, and not just LA, but in America, right? Kobe would, to me, he personified flow because he lived and breathed basketball. It was his and family, of course, but when he was on the court, like there's no stopping,
Mm-hmm.
and elegant, and just to me one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Not to compare myself to Kobe, but when I'm on set and things are clicking and I've done the work and I've like, you really do the work so that flow state happens on set, right? You do the prep and you collaborate and you get the best out of your team so that magic moments can happen. Like that shot that you had mentioned that was at the end of
Well, even just
Homegrown, at the end of
oh yeah,
Homegrown.
yeah.
That came upon you because it's like we're channeling, we're tapped in to some universal thing.
Yeah.
And when you embrace that, and people call it God, people call it Jesus, source, all these different names, intuition, flow. When Matt is driving the car and you're just present in life, an instinct taps into the universe. I know some of your listeners are changing the dial right now, going, "This guy's full of shit," but I'm serious.
No, they're turning it up.
Something tapped into the universe that said to you, "Don't think, just do. Get that guy out of the car." If that guy's energy and his vibration, his mojo would have been drunk gangbanger, the universe may not have put you in danger and stopped him.
Good
The
point.
universe might have said, "You know what? He's going to hit a tree and he's going to get fucked up, but he'll be okay, but you're not getting hurt today."
Yeah.
You put it out there in daily life. This guy was lucky that he connected with you on some other plane. I believe all that.
Yeah. No, and thank God. And I mean, I hope everything worked out and he's doing well. I have no kind of connection to see how he's doing or whatever ended up happening to that,
He
And
and
so
the homeless
literally
guy have a taco cart.
they're gonna team up. They're gonna have a support group one day, Matt
Yeah.
Macedo survivors.
Matt, that's right.
That's hilarious. And going back to like what you were mentioning too about that magical moment of being on set. Isn't that just an amazing feeling of capturing that vision that you had, right? A vision that you have. It's like the law of attraction literally manifesting itself on a film set. I love that so much. A
That's
vision
what I'm
literally
talking.
coming
That's
to life.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. It's the best feeling when I'm on set and you're capturing a vision almost. And it's just like, wow. Yeah.
There was the first film I made was a mockumentary, which is a great way for any filmmaker to have narrative shortcuts. Mock documentary. It's called Dill Scallion. I do sell it online, and I give all the money to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And every year, I just give the gross sales, lifetime gross sales. So it's not like, a couple $100 each year. It's the cum of all the people buying it for $4.99. It's not a lot of money. It's an old film, but it was my first, and it was special. But it was a guerrilla style. We went around the country. We'd pull over and improvise. If we saw a restaurant with taxidermy all over the place, I would ask the owner, "Can we film a scene here?" Because I love the production value.
Yeah.
Flash forward a couple years later, I'm getting hired to do commercials. And I was doing commercials for La Quinta Hotels. La Quinta is Spanish for shitty hotel room. And they're terrible hotels, but the commercials were great. And I remember the ad agency producer was like, "This is a little different than I expected. I watched your movie. I thought you were going to be more hands-on, gritty, guerrilla. Everything's precious, and we have a camera car, and I know you need that for some of these shots, but I just thought I go, what do you mean?" He goes, "I just thought you were more of a guerrilla filmmaker. Like, what? Everything's taken so long." And I said, "Oh, you're absolutely right. I've gone Hollywood. And we did take the camera. I said, put the camera here. We put it on the ground in the middle of a cow field and had the guy pick up, the underwear with a pitchfork or whatever the bit was. And we shot it in like 12 minutes, and it added so much energy to the spot. Everything was so planned out and precious. And this guy kind of reminded me of, like, not why he hired me, but what he expected. And I was like, you're right. I've gone soft. So I remember, I don't know if that's really appropriate coming off of your story, but it was like, take the chance.
Yeah.
Do something spontaneous. I did a commercial where we had too many shots for the day. I had overboarded. I didn't read my own book, Commercial Directing Voodoo. By the way, the website is commercialdirectingfilmschool.com. There's all kinds of courses. If anyone has made it this far in the podcast and they want to take an online class, I'm going to give you the secret code. Don't put, you can publish this if you want. $100 off. Use the code HUNDY, HUNDY, and you can share it with the Fresno fam.
Oh, wow.
Right? Valleywood. Share it with Valleywood.
Wow.
For the Commercial Directing Masterclass or Commercial Directing Shadow, use the code HUNDY. It will knock $100 off, and it's great. And you get a free call with yours truly, where we talk about your questions, your scripts, your short film, your whatever spec spot, whatever you want to talk about. Comes with the course. You have to complete the course, but I want your fans and listeners to have that discount.
Definitely take advantage of it, guys. Please.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's all caps. HUNDY.
No, I think it's
all
lowercase, but I don't know if it matters. Hundy, HUNDY. And I would love to chat with some of the filmmakers that take it, that are your friends and family. But what was I forget the point. Oh, get back to your roots, keep it real, but you got to plan. If you're not buttoned up, there's no time to take advantage of that. And I don't think the universe sprinkles those little incentives on you, or those those intuitive moments. You're not receptive to them if you're not on point.
Well, even those like happy accidents, right?
Happy accidents.
Yeah.
They don't happen as often when you're not prepared.
Or not like accepting of them either, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that we went almost this entire podcast without talking about the difference between directing commercials and directing.
Yeah, that was your bait.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
I can tell you in a nutshell. In a commercial, what's the same is the skill. Like, directing is a confidence game, and being decisive and making great decisions, and leadership, fostering collaboration. Those are all the skill of directing a commercial and directing a movie is the same. And even I don't do episodic television, but I have friends that do. And you have to, instead of a studio or an ad agency, you have showrunners and writers. You deal with performers. So there's a lot of similarities. The difference between features and commercials is the commercial by nature is art serving commerce. And a commercial can be a piece of art, but it's always serving commerce. There's always, even if there's not a product shot, there's a product that the ethos of the commercial is like a Nike commercial. To me, most Nike commercials are works of art. They're beautiful. They never have a shoe with a price on it. It's never like Air Max $999.99. It's never that, right?
Yeah, it's just associating the feeling.
It's a feeling and a vibe. So I think they're art, but at the end of the day, it's for a product and a company. Whereas a movie, especially indie film, which I just love seeing indie films and short films. I'm sorry I haven't seen yours yet. I know the posters, but I can't wait to watch, because I know that it's for the most part free of commerce. The art itself is the piece of commerce. The art itself is the product, not art serving the product.
Sure.
So that's the main difference. And the skill set for the director is, I think it's in the commercial directing voodoo book. Don't start with the wide shot.
Mm-hmm.
If I was doing a movie, I'd probably start with the wide shot.
Sure.
Let the crew build the wide shot, move in closer, do my coverage, get the singles, boom. In a commercial, I know that agencies and clients with limited film experience, or they may want to do the wide shot to death, and I'm like, it's going to be 2 seconds. A wide shot in a movie can be a 17-second sweeping shot from the tree down to the porch, in through the window to the dining room.
Yeah.
That's the whole commercial. So craft is different. Storytelling is the same. And then there's, the performance is typically tainted in a commercial, like heightened to sell a product, in the work I do anyway.
Sure. One thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I know I'm taking so much of your time, I'm so sorry. I have 2 cats. I have 2 cats of my own. And when I saw that you have a course on directing cats, I was like, oh my God, directing cats. And I was like, I got to take this course, or I have to learn this. And so I would love to hear you kind of dive into directing cats. That's so cool. I never even thought about that.
Okay. So for years, I directed these commercials starring Scooter, the neutered cat. And it's for a foundation called GiveThem10.org in Central Ohio, coincidentally, and they run around the country. I think they've licensed Scooter, but it's for no-kill shelters.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
So they spade and neuter your cat for free. It seemed like an odd assignment, but it had a healthy budget. It was really funny. And it's this cat, and there's a funny song. And what was great was the original brief from the ad agency was a funny song about he's Scooter, he's neutered, the greatest cat of them all, the hippest cat of them all.
I love it.
Spectacles, because he wore sunglasses, no testicles. That's right. He lost his pair of balls.
Oh, no.
And so I got to bring the visuals to life 100%. Like, there wasn't even a frame. It was just a picture of a cat with Ray-Bans. And I put a turtleneck sweater, a gold medallion, changed them to like aviators, and wrote a cast of kittens and a bulldog in a leather jacket and da-da-da. And we did the campaign for, 8-9 years. So I did a behind the scenes, 20 minutes behind the scenes, a little video, and that's fun. But the lesson is, the cats don't ad lib, and the cats don't listen to the human to go down the corner and take 2 steps to the left, and the cats don't find their light. So it's a lesson in, and most importantly, the cats are skittish. So directing cats at commercialdirectingfilmschool.com, it's a course that says, be zen, be a leader, be specific, and work with the animal trainers, be a disciplinarian with the crew, because every move is planned out. The cats can only do an A to B move, right? So while it looks like the cat jumped in the window, went down the stairs, turned the corner, went in the alley, and high-fived the bulldog, each one of those is a very specific shot. So you learn the commercial director's hero's journey. Getting a phone call, you read the brief from the agency. You compare that to my treatment. You compare the script to the final product. Then you see the next year they came back with Marmalade. She just got spayed. And you see the boards, you see the brief, you see my photos, still frames from my first commercial in the brief they send to other directors. Like, it's not a given that I'm the incumbent director that I'm going to get the job. I had to bid against 2 other filmmakers.
Wow. Interesting.
And then you see on set the collaboration between the agency, the client, the prop people with some crazy things we did. I'm rambling on and on, but it's the least expensive course. It comes with a 20-minute consultation call, and it's a global view of a campaign. So if you can direct cats, you can direct anything.
Please pitch everything that you have going on. I know we did it throughout, but yeah, everything that you want, the listeners to go to your website and check out.
Go to my website, truegent.tv. True Gentleman Industries is my production company. And there are links to my spots. My son's spots are on there. He's a young director, DP. And commercialdirectingfilmschool.com for the courses. I got a boot camp April 22nd, 2023. If you're listening in the future past that date, you missed it. There might be another one. And then in the fall, and this is something your listeners should really consider. The filmmaker retreat in Joshua Tree. I did it last year. I'm doing it again this week. It's like summer camp in the fall for filmmakers. It's like a film festival vibe where we all stay at the resort. It's a resort. It's a retreat center. We all stay there. It's very primitive. We eat all our meals together. That's all included at the cafeteria on site. We have classes. We take a hike. We break into groups. And my wife is involved. Her first feature, Diamond in the Rough, came out last year. It's on Amazon or Apple, wherever you want. It's a golf rom-com, like Mean Girls meets Happy Gilmore. So my wife, and she's a Latina, she brings a different perspective to filmmaking than I have, right? She's done commercials, but she's had her first feature, so she's working on a second feature. That'll all be part of the retreat. And it's just you'll make connections for life. It'll be transformational.
I do love that your entire family is creative. I saw your wife's episode of The Garcias right on HBO. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And you're still talking to me.
No, I mean, it's so awesome. Yeah. You have a whole family of creatives, and that's really awesome. Yeah. Your son has the studio, Boyd Studio. And that doing all that now. It's really cool. And I really recommend
proud of all my kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know your son helps you with your podcast too, and that's really cool. And his ad, oh my God, he's like, you can see my dad's stuff now on your website.
I let him say whatever he wants for the ads.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. And again, my listeners, please go follow you on Instagram. What was your Instagram?
That Jordan Brady, not this one over here. That Jordan Brady, JORDAN BRADY.
Awesome. Okay.
Michael Jordan, Tom Brady.
That's right. One of the best. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jordan, so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, man.
Your hours with me. So sorry.
Hours. We're at hour 2 now. And,
are we really? Oh my God.
No, I don't know. I'm teasing.
I don't know. Yeah.
Hundy is the $100 off the course, and then we'll jump on the phone.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again, Jordan, so much. Awesome.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. Have a good day. Awesome.
Bye.